When Resident Evil 7 released back in January, fans were extremely skeptical about the product that they were pushing out. The change in previous games combined with a completely new approach led everybody to the same question. Has Capcom made a good entry this time? The main difference between Resident Evil 7 and previous games is the new addition of a first-person mechanic. Long gone are the days of fixed and shoulder camera angles, but luckily, this new approach works fantastically, offering more scares than possible as you're now actually in Ethan's shoes, instead of just floating behind him. In terms of the story it pushes out, it's also very, very good. I won't spoil any details here if you're yet to play it. However, once you pick up notes and start to unravel the truth, under the layers of horror, Resident Evil is a sad story. It shows how a once nice family has been completely destroyed, leaving behind the remnants of a once great past as they now try to hunt you down to murder your face brutally. Now, I'm not a huge lover of horror games in general, as they're very scary, but I can say that Resident Evil 7 delivers terrifying atmospherical detail as you are wandering around the mansion. You'll hear cleverly added footsteps just above you with doors opening and closing, and it honestly feels like the Baker family are real, constantly walking to catch you. When you enter the lower corridors with the molded, the ambience noise becomes even more bone-shivering as things constantly sound behind you. Ugh. The game does not rely on jump scares at all, and even when it seems one is about to hit you, the game doesn't play on it, so no sudden piano notes here. The main scares are the atmosphere and the fact that Jack is an unstoppable machine. Fans will remember Nemesis from Resident Evil 3, and if you do remember, you basically have Jack in a nutshell. So, how does the combat play compared to previous titles, I hear you ask? It actually flows amazingly well. There's nothing in Resident Evil 7 that feels too action oriented, and even the way Ethan holds his pistol makes the game feel extremely realistic at showing the fact that the man behind the trigger is not a professional at all. Each and every weapon that you could possibly find acts and sounds meaty, blasting holes into enemies, which is something I love my games to include. You don't need no BB sounding guns here, guys. Players won't actually be running into combat around every corner, as the main enemies are probably the molded. Which, inevitably, leads me on to my next part, survival. Some people believe that this entry into the series is not a thing like the originals. However, one thing that we can all agree on is the fact that the survival aspects are extremely reminiscent of the much earlier titles. Long gone have the days of having a huge supply of backup ammo to pump into your enemies. The storage crate has also seen a majestic return, allowing items to be placed inside and taken back out at any crate location. Tying this in, along with a limited inventory space, provides some extremely difficult decisions. Resident Evil 7 constantly places you in the same position and asks you the same question: which is more important to you, health or ammo? In terms of graphics, the game looks absolutely stunning. Even down to the smaller textures such as buttons on a telephone, everything is incredibly highly detailed. Bullets create holes on enemies that will allow you to see the damage that you've inflicted. All of this ends up to the point where I could definitely say that this is one of the best looking games that I've played in a while. Okay, so overall, even though I'm not a huge fan of horror, Resident Evil 7 has managed to suck me into its detailed story and fantastic gameplay, offering some absolutely amazing moments. As you crawl your way through this frightening game, you'll uncover a brilliant story, as I spoke about earlier. The graphics are stunning, the combat is thrilling, and the horror is terrifying. Old roots have returned, including items such as the storage crate, creating a blend of nostalgic gameplay that is also up to the modern standards of gaming. Overall, Capcom, thankfully, trusted their instincts, listened to fans, and managed to create something that can be classed as a masterpiece, which is why we decided to give it a full 10 out of 10 in our full review. Now, this is the very first of our YouTube reviews, but if you want to keep up with, we're changing our sites to a point where we're going to be pushing out a lot more reviews in the future. So, if you want to keep up with all the reviews, old games, new games, current games, games long and lost forgotten, we're your guys. So, go ahead, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and go and check out our website if you haven't already to see the full review on Resident Evil 7.